Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome dear students. This is a video for the subject of education for the course of Bachelor's in Education and for the paper of Conceptual Foundations of Education. Here in this lecture we will be discussing the sociology of childhood development, and in this lecture the focus will be on the role of family as a whole in the development of children. This video lecture has been recorded by Dr. Iram Khan. The course coordinator and the presenter of this video is Dr. Iram Khan from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. The academic expert or the reviewer of this video is Professor Jasim Ahmed from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. This video is produced under the project DTH Swayam Prabha channels of MHRD, presently known as Ministry of Education, Government of India. Hello dear students, I am Dr. Iram Khan, Assistant Professor at IASC, Faculty of Education, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Today we are going to have a discussion on sociology of childhood development, and in this lecture we will be discussing the role of family as a whole in the development of children. So let us start the discussion first seeing the objectives of the lesson. So the objectives of this lecture are to elaborate the importance of family in the education of a child, then to discuss the various functions of a family in the all-round development of a child. So these are the two objectives, and in the earlier lecture we have seen that what exactly is the meaning of a family, what are those main characteristic features of the family, and many other things related to the family. And in this lecture the focus is to see that how important role the family plays in the education of a child, as well all those functions which are very much pivotal in the life of a child, which is being dealt by the family. So the first point of discussion is the importance of family in the education of the child. And we have also seen a lot of different roles of the family in the previous lecture, and we have seen that how family is considered to be the very old, and you can say the initial structures which were found in the society where the human beings were actually living. So we have also seen that how different type of factors were influencing the joint family system, like the industrialization, then social, economic, political, legal type of compulsions which were very much important in the disintegration of the joint family system. So these are few of those things which are very much important whenever we try to understand the evolution of the family systems in our country. And we can also see this that the development of the society in a specific way has established a lot of other institutions which are important for the rearing and, or you can say the development or nurturing of the child, like the daycare centers. Then once we talk about the education and the development of children who are belonging to different set of families, it can't be seen that there is a there is a way which is very much universal. We can find different type of ways in which different families nurture their infants and the children. So still we can say that family plays a very powerful role as an informal agency of education. And this role which family is having in terms of the education of the child has not at all decreased to a single bit. We can say that even this role has enhanced, and now the family has to play a lot of different roles in the development of the child. So we can start with the discussion on the infant, like how the life of a human baby starts. The first stage is the infant stage, where the child actually gets the affection or the care of the parents and other near and dear ones who are associated with the family. And as this child grows, this child receives the first lesson of life in the close association of the family members. And the child basically tries to imbibe the habits, the ideals, and the patterns of behavior of the family members only. So this is something which is very much important once we try to see that how the initial stages of this infant actually are going to give a way to the later life patterns. So in this way, we can consider the family to be the most important influencer throughout the life of the child. Or once the child even grows up, then also those family norms, the values which are imparted by the family members or in the close vicinity of the family are with the child. So we can very clearly say that a lot of facilities, a lot of kind of values are imparted to the child by the family. And if we try to give certain classification of these particular important helps which are provided to the child from the family, we can say that the first point or the first important thing which is to be listed is affection, then protection, and the most important is the socialization, how to live in the society, how to deal with the society. So every single characteristic which is very much important in terms of being a social human being is being taught by the family to the child. So for the upbringing of the child, there is no better institution than the family. All the family members act and react in this process of give and take, and they actually provide a lot of things to the child as a learning experience, at times unknowingly, and at times they try to teach the child certain things or those important points which are basically going to help this child once this child is entering into the formal education system. So we can say that each member of the family has an important role to influence the personality of the child. The family activates, or you can say that the family is basically involved in the development of the communication of the child. The language, the first thing which is taught by the family members to this child is the language or the ability to speak, to express. So this is, and even the addition of those words, the vocabulary, all those things are being learned by the child in the close association of the family. So that's why, and in the family, we give the most important place to the mother, and that's why you can see that even today and every time we say that the mother tongue, this is the mother tongue of this child. So this basically is the language which is being spoken in the family of this child. So these are those lessons which are learned by the child in the close vicinity of the family. During the first 6 years of life, the child is very much free he or she lives very freely under the fostering and the affection and care, the protection of the family. Um, and here the parents are those people who are the most important in the life of the child. There are other relations also, like if the child is staying in a joint family, then there may be the grandparents or the siblings. So you can say that the the close relationships play a very important role here. Then the pattern of behavior of adults, their habits and their attitudes, actually passively or actively, in any way you can say, that are going to influence the attitude of the child. And the child is going to get all those lessons just by seeing or just by actually observing their the parents or the other adults of the family. Then the environment of the family is also very much important, because this helps in the development of the like the overall personality of the child. All these stresses, the strains, the activities, maybe the good activities or the evil activities, maybe if the child is staying in a broken family, there is a possibility that the personality of the child gets affected and is is maybe hampered. So we can say that uh, it is actually very much difficult or almost impossible that this child is not getting affected by any sort of mishappenings in the family. So basically, these are the foundation years where this child is actually learning a lot from the family structure, the family environment, the members of the family, and all those activities which are happening inside the family. Also, the this is something which is very much important, that the family meets the various needs of the child. So there are a lot of experiences which can be good or bad, or which can be maybe painful or maybe very happy moments, which the child is going uh, to undergo uh, once this child is staying in a family. So it is the duty of each and every member of the family to pay due respect to the individuality of the child and foster this child a sense of belongingness and responsibility towards uh, towards uh, the parents, towards him or her own lives, and also to the life of other people who are surrounding the family home, or maybe to whom this child is getting in contact with. So this is something which is very much related to the cultural aspect as well, because now once the child starts going to school or to some place which is very much formal in nature, the norms which this child is adhering here inside the family are going to be imparted to that particular place also. So the culture and the values of this child are now starting to affect the other people of the society. So this is something which actually tells us that how important is the role of the family in terms of making or nurturing the foundation years of the child, even the foundational education of the child, because we can say that family is the first teacher, and mother here is going to play the most important role in the education or in the development of this child. Now we are going to have a focused view on the functions of the family in terms of the various kinds of developmental needs or developmental structures of the child. So the first point, the first type of development which is very much important here to discuss is the physical development. To develop the child physically basically is the first function of the family. Parents and other members of the family are always careful about the health and well-being of the child. So for this purpose, useful physical experiences, exercises and other activities are provided to the child. Uh, Basically, we can say that whatever basic needs this child is having, this is the responsibility of the family to provide those basic needs, those basic things which are essential for life. And also the other things like the regular physical exercises, habits of cleanliness, then those rigorous lifestyle patterns or the moral values which are the part of the culture of the child. So all these things are basically being taught by the family to this child. Even once we are talking about those basic needs, we can say that uh, providing proper residence to this child. So the residence of the family should be very much open and lighted and airy, so that this child can be uh, be living in a proper clean and good environment. And this is something which is the important aspect, which is the duty of the family to be to provide this child with a proper residence where this child can be nurtured properly. Even in case the child is needing some sort of healthcare needs or some sort of the availability of a health facility or a doctor, then this is also the responsibility of the family to provide him or her with this proper care. Then the next point is to basically provide the next basic need, which can be considered as the food and the clothes, also the provision of uh, proper play and rest, and also the personal cleanliness. So all these basic needs are something which are to be provided by the family to the child. Providing the proper food here can be considered as the important thing. Why? Because if the child is getting wholesome and healthy, balanced diet, which is having the combinations of all those components of the food, like the carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, fats, minerals, salt, and even the water, clean water. Uh, we can say that the basic physical development of the child is going to happen properly. And providing clothing, then also providing some sort of playful activities, and then after coming from playing, this child should be taking care of that he or she is taking proper rest, proper sleep. So all these things, even the health and hygiene, these are the duties which the family has, uh, family has to complete in terms of nurturance of the child. So this is something which is related to the physical development function of a family. The next one is the mental development. What exactly here this mental development refers to? So the mental development of the child, we can say, is the next important function of the family. By mental development, here we mean that the development of the mental powers. For example, the power of thinking, feeling, then reasoning, then making logics out of things, then making judgments. Then also the role of memory is not to be uh, overlooked. Also, in few ways, discrimination between good and bad. These are all those mental powers which are very much important to be governed, or you can say to be developed in a proper manner. To develop these powers, parents provide adequate opportunities and experiences to the child. In comparison with, we try to see those families where the families which are not very wealthy, And if we try to compare the children who are living in the well-to-do families with the families who are not doing that well in terms of their economy or the wealth, we can see that the well-to-do families are able to provide better opportunities and experiences for their children to receive better education. This is something which is not very much compulsory. At times, the other way can also be seen, but most of the times we can find that those families who are doing good in terms of their economic condition, they are able to provide a peaceful and kind of environment which is having a lot of opportunities and also the uh, good experiences, better opportunities and experiences to their children. So in this way we can say that this function of the mental development is again a very important part which is to be played by the family in terms of the development of their children. So the next point is the emotional development. The influence of family greatly affects the emotional development of the child. The environment which the child is getting at home, its upkeeping, the sanitation, and also the outlook of the place where this child is living. All these things influence the emotional growth of the child as well. If the child is living with the family members who are emotionally very fine, and they are providing this child a healthy atmosphere, the positive emotions which can be named as sympathy, courage, affection, love, and many more, then the child can be seen to be acquiring a lot of good sort of emotions. And on the other hand, if the child is living with the family members who are dealing with the maladjustment issues, or the family is somehow broken in terms of the atmosphere, if there is a broken home where the parents would be fighting with each other, or maybe there are a lot of different type of disunity issues, there is a possibility that the child acquires a lot of negative emotions, which can be fear, anger, jealousy, a lot of stress and worry. So these are those things which are showing us a very important thing, that the emotional development is again the very important role of the family, and the child is getting this emotional development very much in the close coherence of the family members. The next point here is the religious development. Family is the only institution where religious development of the child can be ensured. So, in a place like our country, India, we are a very much secular state, secular country. So, it is the duty of the family members to impart the religious education to the child, and in the religious environment of the family, the child learns to follow the principles of a particular religion, with the result that religious, moral, and ethical values develop in this child without any difficulty. And this is also very much important for the family to teach the child to respect all the religions, because we all know that in our country we have got many religions. We have got a lot of religions which stay together, and they stay in a very kind of uh, proper environment, a very good environment. So this is again the responsibility of the family to teach the child that every religion is to be respected, and the child should be acquiring this teaching that we have to respect each and every religion. The next point is social development. Sometimes we think that social development is the responsibility of the school, but no, It's not only the responsibility of the school but also the responsibility of the family, because we have seen that the first school or the first educator is the family. So we can even mention that not only the school is a miniature society, but also the family can be considered as the miniature society, in which the child learns all the socially desirable values, which can be considered as the values of sympathy, love, cooperation, tolerance, responsibility, justice, how to lead our life in a very democratic way, and all the uh, other things which are required to lead the child's life along with the family members and also along with the other people who are the part of the society. Then the next point is the transmission of culture. What exactly this means? This basically is considered to be the duty of the school, that the school should preserve, to transmit, and develop the culture of the race. But it does not mean that family, as an agency of education, has nothing to do in this connection, because we can see that each society has its own culture, and this culture is still practiced in families. In schools, culture is taught, but in the families, the culture is practiced. So in this way, we can say that transmission of culture is again a very important role of the family. So development of interests and habits. This is the next point. And we all know this somehow, that the good or bad habits or different type of interests of the child basically spring up and they develop in the family where this child basically lives. So the good or bad habits and the interests basically are the formation stones, or the important factors which are responsible for the formation of the character of the child. So if the parents and the other family members are not very much vigilant, or they are unmindful, uh, or they don't care about that what are those activities or those things in which this child is actually taking interest, there is a possibility that this child acquires a lot of bad habits, or maybe interested in those things which are not good for him, or maybe harmful for himself or herself, or even in future for the family members itself. So it is basically the responsibility of the parents to be very much vigilant about those activities and those things which the children of the family are actually doing or they are in, so that they don't have to suffer in future. So this way we can say that the responsibility of parents is very important here, to take care of what exactly is the uh, activities, or what are those interests in which this child is going ahead and is acquiring. So this is something which is very important to be seen when we talk about the role of the family in terms of the development of interests and habits of the child. Then the development of language. We have seen that how important this is, because the first language which the child speaks is basically the language of the family, or the in more precise terms, the mother tongue, which is the natural way of speaking in the family of this child. So school basically only reform it and add to the vocabulary. So we observe that children belonging to educated and cultured families pronounce the words correctly in comparison with those who come from a odd background, or maybe the families who are not very much literate. So schools are able to reform very little in such cases. So basically we can say that the language of the family is something which is very much important in terms of development of the language of this child. Then the next point is the development of morality and character. So this is again a very important feature of the family, which plays a very important role in the development of this child. So basically, the family develops the moral and ethical values in the child. These values lead to the formation of habits and attitudes which build the character, and this character is basically the backbone of the life of this child. So other institutions like the school or the neighborhood or any other institution can only help in this connection. So there can be some sort of help which can be provided, but the responsibility of building up of the morality and character is of the family. So in this way, the family alone uh, basically originates and fosters these values in the early childhood. A child learns these values through imitation. This is something which is too important to understand, that most of the times we can find the child imitating the mother or the father or the siblings or other members of the family. So this child grows older and this child learns the desired moral and social values through insight. But in the earlier stage, this imitation thing allows him to actually act in a way in which he sees other members of the family acting. So we can say that family is a cradle where character of the child takes roots up to the age of 6 years. Other institutions only develop it further. So basically, this is the responsibility of the family to provide such environment in which this child develops the morality and the character in the proper way. So the next point here is the development of individuality. The other institutions are also responsible to see that the child develops his or her individuality on proper lines. But this development starts in the family. The seeds of the development of the individuality are going to be sprouted here inside the family. So we can say that the early childhood in the environment of the family is the initial point where the child's individuality is going to start to begin. So this is the responsibility of parents. Uh, so to basically become very much vigilant and to very much considerate in respect of seeing that how this child is getting a kind of self-confidence in things which he or she is doing, so that the child can be a responsible citizen once he or she grows up. The next point is the development of innate tendencies. So the congenial and conducive environment of the family brings out and develops the innate tendencies of the child. If these innate tendencies do not have a natural outlet, they turn into complexes and the child becomes maladjusted. So we can mention that the unfoldment of innate tendencies begins in the family and is evident during the early childhood. Parents and other like the other members of the family should be very much careful about this, and they provide all facilities to the child for the self assertion and proper development. The next point here is the provision of practical and vocational education. So the attitudes to work, the dignity of labor, the value of hard work and practical work. This is something which again is the responsibility of the family to basically teach the child about what exactly these things mean, what exactly is the meaning of working, and how important it is to work uh, for uh, for actually leading a better life. So the child gets this first lesson of a vocation in the family from those who are engaged in the family vocation, or those who are actually earning the wages. So the child becomes a sort of the kind of student or a kind of onlooker to see that what exactly is the profession of the father or the mother or maybe the other family members, or what exactly is the vocation of the family. So by observing all these things, this child actually uh, is getting ready to adopt the vocation of the family, or maybe to be some sort of engaged in any type of vocation or employment, or maybe uh, thinking about working in future. So this is something which is again an important feature of the family. So in this way, now we have reached to the summary of this lecture. Let us just have a quick recap. We saw that the importance of family in the education of the child is foremost. The child gets affection, protection, and care, and also the child socializes in the close coherence of the family members. Then we have seen a lot of different functions of the family. And what are these functions? Let us just have a quick look. These are the physical development, mental development, emotional development, then religious development, social development, then also the development of languages, or the mother tongue basically, then the transmission of culture, development of interest and habits, then development of morality and character, development of innate tendencies, then the provision of practical and vocational education, development of individuality, and at the end, we can say basically the all round development of the child. So, in this way, we can say that family plays the most important role in the life of the child, which makes him or her enabled to lead his or her life in a proper way. So these are a few of those references and suggested links which were used while developing this lecture. You can also go ahead and study from these and enhance your knowledge. Thanks from my side. See you again in another lecture on some other topic. Thank you so much. Dear students, you were watching a video on sociology of childhood development, and in this lecture we discuss the role of family as a whole in the development of children. This video lecture was recorded by faculty at home during the national lockdown period for COVID-19 pandemic using minimal technical resources. Technical errors, if any, are unintentional and may please be ignored. For any queries with regard to this lecture or broadcast, kindly send your email to techsupport@dth.ac.in. Thank you so much.